This is your host, Jessica Dawson, and this is the Financial Drag Show.
Hello, I am Nicole.
And I am Central Florida's favorite local drag queen for 2023, April Fresh.
April, thank you and Nicole for being here. And we have a guest today. This is Crystal Whitaker. She is a friend of mine that I met out in San Diego on my September to Remember. I know Nicole knows more about that, but that's the time that I went across country looking to raise capital. And Crystal was at WeWo, right?
Yes, WeWo for thanks to Carrie and the Bra Network.
Yes, that was a conference in San Diego for women investing in women, brought by Carrie Murray from the Bra Network is the one that created that event, and it was amazing. Nicole, I think I met Bridget, I was in the cohort with Bridget, and Nicole got to meet Bridget and a few other people. But we had a great time. Do you want to tell us exactly what you did and why you were out there in San Diego?
Yeah, so I've actually been a member of the Bra Network for a few years now, and I was originally invited to go to WeWo as a part of a panel. I don't know, this is the last panel of the day. We talked about the importance of community and connection and how it can cultivate belonging. And just because of my involvement with the Bra Network and the connection that I have with Carrie, it was an automatic yes for me to attend. And I got to meet some really amazing people, yourself included.
Thank you.
So what is your role, Crystal? Like what do you do that got you that invitation?
Yes, so I am an inclusive branding and leadership development consultant, and I work with leaders and brands, entrepreneurs, founders to help them create genuinely inclusive environments through their messaging, their core values, and their overall branding in terms of how they are not just showing up in their communication, but also their leadership style, and making sure that they are honoring the commitments that they have made to their community.
So what about somebody like that would say, well, I don't really care about that. Why is that important? What do you have to say about that?
You should care about it.
Yeah, why though? Like if I'm a business owner, why do I care about being inclusive?
I love this question. So if you are a business owner, I'll set aside for a moment the business case for diversity and inclusion, because I think that we here know the importance of that. But if you have a business, you will want to make sure that you are creating a space for everyone that engages with you or your brand or people who work for you to feel welcome and included, and find themselves in a space where they're able to feel a sense of belonging, because it's good for your business. It's good for leadership. It's good for teams. If people don't have to spend their time and energy wondering whether or not they are welcome or even safe in a space, they can use that energy to actually focus on creativity and collaboration, which is good for business.
For sure. April Fresh, do you feel included in the Financial Drag Show?
I do. I might not understand a lot of the words that are being discussed, but I definitely do feel included. And I feel like a big part of where we're moving with FISC is very inclusive for all groups, which is kind of the point.
Yeah, I think that Jessica like pretty much came up with this whole idea to keep inclusivity as a priority in financial health.
Correct.
So last week, or 2 weeks ago, our other guest was in life insurance, and believe it or not, now I'm getting my life insurance license, which is crazy.
Very nice.
And Nicole is, she's helped with the branding and helped build our brand for FISC, all of our logos, and a lot of it came out of her head. And matter of fact, the name for the actual application, the original name, which was called Little Fish, Nicole came up with.
Oh, I love it.
and it ended up turning into Fisk, which is actually means fish because it's a translation into Norwegian.
I remember you sharing that with me before. I think it's clever.
Yeah, well, we didn't do it on purpose. Everything has evolved over the past 2 years. Our 2 year anniversary for me for coming up with the idea, and I guess this time 2 years ago, we were pushing. I was trying to get Nicole to quit her job so she would come work for me. Thank God she did, because we were right on the edge of getting everything done.
So, Crystal, back to the conversation of inclusivity being great for your business or company. It reminds me of a very harmful colloquial phrase that was running around social media last year about going woke, you go broke. And I hate that term because what's not true, right? There are statistics to prove that it's not true. But also, I feel like it's harmful for startups and entrepreneurs that are coming into the scene thinking that they don't need to devote time, energy, and resources to creating inclusivity, based on this false statement. So like, is that something that you're finding is still, we're getting the fallout from that, or is that kind of gone by the wayside because statistics have proven otherwise?
So in my experience, I'm very lucky. The people that choose to come and work with me, they are ready and they do see the importance of it.
Yeah.
And I do see, the flip side of the coin where people still don't fully understand why it's important, why they should do it. So to answer your question, there are still people out there who don't see the value, and that's a lot of their own experience and their own biases that they haven't even worked through yet.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I think that, we as Americans in society have to look at it internally. And before I was the show, I was talking to Crystal about meditation and how important I think it is. And in meditating, in order to go inward, you go upward. But the finance and everything that we do and we breathe, we talk about finance. And Crystal, let me ask you a question. Since you've heard me talk about the application, the show and the documentary, what is your overall opinion about Fisk mobile tipping and in its inclusiveness feel?
Oh, well, so you're tapping into a market that I think is very easily and often overlooked. People aren't thinking about how to connect, your let's say like theater actors or people who are servers in restaurants. They're not thinking about, oh, how do I help these folks secure their financial future? I mean, even before meeting you, it's not something that I had thought about. And these are people, especially when you think about the service industry overall, these, what we now know after, going through COVID, these are essential jobs, essential workers, and yet nobody's having these essential conversations with them. So I think it's brilliant.
When we came up with the idea, or I did, and Nicole was the first person I talked to, and we've been working ever since. It was, how do we assist people, long term, instead of just making an application where money went from point A to point B? And when we wanted to go to a long-term investment account, and we were like, we can't make that happen. We have to use something that's out there. And that's where we got the idea to link it up to either an IRA or Roth IRA. And just recently, the last episode was that we had, I think, was episode 4, and to link it up to a life insurance policy. And nobody is paying attention to some of these people. This is their job in college. They're going to have a future doing something else. And why wouldn't you want to grab that young person and bring them into your firm and teach them, things so they're a lifelong customer? I think that it's a great way to bring loyalty to your brand if you're a investment firm or an insurance agent.
Yeah, absolutely. And even thinking about, as you said, the future of the country, these are people that, they are going to be in charge one day. We need to be setting everyone up to be able to handle their finances and do it well, and teach the generations coming up behind them how to do it, and how to do it in a way that they have control, in a way that they understand. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about you, Jessica, is that you can break things down for folks in a way that is digestible.
That is, it's hard to sometimes talk about the mathematical equations. Nicole has just recently gone and taking a lot of it's physics. How many classes did you take on physics, Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm studying currently. I don't want to go off course
Well, I'm
here.
not just go off subject. When I talk to Nicole, she's not talking about a mathematical equation, and she can explain it to me to where I go, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. You don't want to break down and go into the net present value of money and all of this interesting equations, because people get lost. But if you're talking about, hey, little Johnny's getting some money, and then the tip goes to little Johnny's future, big Johnny, that's fascinating to think about how the application helps two timelines.
Yeah.
This reality that we all experience, and another reality we don't even know where it's at. That's where I think it's fun, and to tell those type of stories that way makes the application interesting. And getting the views from April as we go out, and I've been on site with April in a few restaurants or locations, and we've asked other drag queens. And April, as a matter of fact, is going to travel the country with me when we launch the application, while Nicole stays back and runs the operations. And we're, as a team, we're trying to push into areas and make people see us as people that think about finance, and to help all our other friends, because in the LGBT community, we know so many people that are in drag that work off tips.
It was interesting. I was at lunch today with another drag queen friend of mine, and I was telling her about Fisk, and she's like, now she comes from she works in a bank and has for many, many years. And she's probably mid-30s. And she said to me, well, why don't people just know to, of the money that you make, just to invest some? And my response to her was, so many people that are currently in the industry, in a tipped industry, especially the younger generation that has not been taught any of that, might not be thinking to do that, and thinking how important it is for your future and for financial security. So and then when I was explaining about it, she's like, oh, it totally makes sense. That's something that everybody really needs. So I think it's going to be great.
Do you, I know I was supposed to see you on Saturday at the event that you had, and I was not able to make it.
No worries.
But are you able to start talking about it to other people in the audience or anywhere else other than a lunch, or have you tried?
I have talked to people on a one-on-one basis. I haven't put any kind of presentation together to, speak publicly, but I have mentioned
Yeah, and I think that, I just think, April, that until we at least wait till we launch to
absolutely
speak publicly about it. So
I think so too.
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure when you do talk about it, it starts to resonate with potential customers. But Crystal, the reason that we have April here isn't just because she's a friend of ours and a friend of the community and voted Orlando's best drag queen for how many years running, but also because this type of service industry, drag queen and LGBTQ plus performers are going to be sort of our first line of customers that we're launching Fisk with. And it's not just a homage to our community and Jessica and I being LGBTQ founders, but this is where we see the most crucial need for financial security is with underbanked and overlooked individuals in the LGBTQ community. But then you add in being a service worker on top of that, and you have a recipe for not knowing how to prepare yourself for the future. So we're really excited to, you know, partner with some local drag queens and launch with that community. So do you find, you know, I feel like the last few years, Crystal, have been really hard for drag queens and the public eye. Is that still going on in companies? Like, you know, are companies allowing drag queens to come in and perform for their workforce and, you know, have entertainment like that? Or is it still, you know, looked at in some sort of negative light, which I'm not even sure how that came to be?
I would say it's a mix, and it depends on where you are. I live in Southern California. I live in LA. So of course it's a lot more liberal, and we're not having the same types of conversations that are happening in Florida, right? So it really depends on, at least from my perspective, it depends on where you are.
Yeah.
I will say the people that are invested in supporting the community, they really do, in a lot of ways, go out of their way to make sure that people feel supported. And those who don't, it's very clear. So it becomes, unfortunately, it can fall on the people within the LGBTQ plus community, right? To really assess, all right, what is the environment? What's the climate like? Am I going to be okay here? Which
Yeah.
is frustrating and unfortunate.
Yeah, and Crystal tells us stories all the time of younger performers, especially that you know, are living gig to gig, not just paycheck to paycheck. I think gig to gig is harder to live by because gigs are less you know, you don't know exactly what you're going to get from a gig versus a paycheck. So it can be really, really scary. April, like, have you spoken with any younger performers one-on-one and letting them know that something is coming?
I have, and they really don't understand it as a rule, as a general rule, but they're very fascinated by it. So I think once we have more literature and more, you know,
Do you
official
think
presentations, I think it'll be great.
it's a fascination because it's members of the LGBTQ helping, or it's because of financial or learning the finance and being an adult with your money?
I think it's going to be about 50-50 of both. I know, just like, for example, I would always prefer to eat at a mom and pop restaurant than a chain restaurant. Nothing against the chains, but I kind of feel like the money is going a little more to someone individually. So I feel like a lot of this kind of has to do with that as well. But the, you know, so I think anyone in the LGBTQ community would way rather support the LGBTQ community.
I
If
agree.
yes, yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You know, there's the other members of the broad network that Krista and I both belong to. There's another member that talks about neuroscience, and not going off on a far tangent, but we as human beings, there's something about the left-hand side of the brain that wants to lump everybody together. We all want to be with people that are like us, and I think that's what happens is we all I guess clump together. And then if something goes wrong, we want to point fingers at the other people. And, you know, you want to help your friends make sure that their lives are valued and are going to flourish. And I think that's, you know, Nicole and I have worked on this project for 2 years, really starting in January 1st. That'll be the 2-year mark that we were really, I mean, nonstop every day, all day, going at it. And to know where we are about to help our community and help out the rest of I talk about the millennials and the Gen Zs and the Gen As. I think it's going to be incredible for their futures.
Yeah, you know, and the thing that really drew me into want to work full time in the project was the idea of someone growing up and doing what they want to do. I feel like that's almost like a lost dream now, the American dream, or just the dream of being yourself and doing what you want to do. Like if a kid wants to grow up and be a drag queen or a bike repairman or something like that, you really can't anymore because you look at the financial potential outlook of that and think, well, no way, I need to go and, figure out a way to work for Morgan Stanley or something, it's not doable. And I think with Fisk, there seems to be a sort of light at the end of the tunnel where you can do your job, whatever that job may be, and actually create financial security and wealth for yourself.
Yeah. I also appreciate the way that it's set up to split. I appreciate it because especially if I think about myself when I was younger, having a pot of money and not really having an understanding of how to manage money.
Yeah.
And something like Fisk that just puts things in accounts for you, and it's building your wealth and your nest egg for you. And then what is left over, however you set it up going into your bank account, like that, I think is so handy for people who maybe don't consider themselves to be quote unquote good with finances.
Yeah.
I don't think, Crystal, were you taught anything about finance in high school?
No, absolutely not.
We ask everybody. I don't know anybody who. I think on the Voyage of Empowerment that I went on in September, a few people in the audience raised their hands. They had an economics class, but you don't. Most people didn't get anything. If their parents didn't know anything, then they didn't get handed down any wisdom of working with money.
Yeah, but that wisdom, like I graduated high school in 2007, and we did have a class about balancing books. And that's not something that actually sticks with high schoolers, number one. So, we did have a class on it, but as far as teaching somebody finances in high school, that financial health and financial habits are it's a habit for a reason. Like, it's something you have to do every single day, and having one class on balancing books is not teaching finances. But I think instead, like, teaching finances could look like setting budgets and knowing that you have $50 a week for lunch money, and if you've bought 10 cookies before Wednesday and you're sitting at $7, well, you might not get to eat lunch on Friday. I think that would be a better way to teach finances, and maybe, teaching setting aside money so maybe you can get a cookie at the end of the week, or something like that. So I was taught finances in high school, but not actually taught something that was useful.
Not like assets and liabilities. It's so hard for even still people that are adults. They don't know that when you spend your money, what is your money just going outward, and then whatever you bought is depreciating and is going to be gone and worthless, and you're going to have to replace it in the future? Or are you going out and buying an asset that's going to give you dividends in the future? Even if it's buying a book, that's going to give you dividends in the future, because you're investing in yourself. But you've got to, I guess, go sometimes and do things. Nicole, when we were, like I explained a lot of times to our guests, that Nicole and I we day traded that money that we got, or most everybody got, back when Trump was president. We were playing with it in the stock market and tripled it. To where I think, April, we talked about that one night at the restaurant, what a lot of people had done with their money, and they had spent it. But then again, there were people that had to have that money.
Correct.
And I looked at it, it was a blessing in disguise. I got to learn a lot of things from Nicole, because she had been trading for a while. And
I want to talk about assets again, and talk about assets in the drag queen world, April. I think assets can definitely look different for a lot of people. Jessica mentioned a book. But like, if a new drag queen's coming onto the scene, you can't go out and buy 10 new wigs and spend all of your money. But like, what do you think the biggest asset as a drag queen is?
I think the girls that are the most successful have their regular life and their drag life, and the regular life pays all their bills and such. And then the drag, usually you can put back into your craft. That doesn't mean you can't make money off of it. I certainly do. However, I think so many girls they are full-time drag too soon, and they're not making the money that they think they are, because you forget a new costume and a new wig, and just getting a new set of eyelashes and some foundation adds up quick, especially when you're not bringing in a lot of money. I think for being a server, it might be a little different because you don't have to have upkeep of tools for your craft as much, and you can focus that more on your rent and so forth. But you know, I think you have to look at the big picture, and a lot of people do not do that.
That's true, April. I'm glad you brought that up. You know, I was talking to Crystal. She actually got here about 45 minutes before the show.
Mhm.
And, you know, maybe I didn't explain it to her, but, you know, living as a guy for so long, the prices aren't that much to get your hair done. You don't have to
Right.
spend money on makeup. It's just pretty much haircut, trim your beard, and put some clothes on, and then you carry on your day.
Mhm.
When I transitioned, you got an eye opener of, ooh, your hair is going to cost how much? And
Yep.
then your makeup, and then all the accessories that you need. You're packing.
Well, let me just be
It's
clear
the
that
pink tax. It's the pink tax.
tax, yeah.
Yeah,
Let me
I've
just
never
be
heard of
clear,
it.
if anybody is trans watching, you don't need to go spend $100 to get your hair done. You can go to Great Clips and somebody,
Yeah.
and I still get
Right.
$10 haircuts, or have your mom cut your hair. Like, you don't need to do all the fancy stuff, but yeah, it definitely is something that I feel like is pushed for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you want to, you know, before I came out, I did what I considered drag cross dressing. You know, I have a term in the Urban Dictionary called dragcation. Not everybody knows about it. I think I told Nicole about it, but um, you're trying to find out who you are in life, and when you are hanging around the LGBT, you are able to find yourself. You're surrounded by friends, and it's fun to have your chosen family support you through your transition, because it's not easy. All society's coming down upon you, and then people are coming down upon you because you don't have money.
Yeah, is that hard for for business owners to understand, Crystal, what Jessica just mentioned, like understanding the plight of somebody that is in the LGBTQ community or a gender minority, like, or any kind of minority, what they go through and like the things that you need to do to be accommodating in your business? I feel like it's hard to understand if you haven't walked that road.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these are conversations that I have with one-on-one coaching clients, especially, where one of the first things that I do with them is we go through a glossary of key terms and definitions to outline the experiences of marginalized folks. And the number of people, it's almost every coaching client, there will be at least 2 or 3 terms they're like, wow, I had no idea what that was, or I've seen that or experienced it, but I didn't know that there was a name for it. I didn't know that was a thing. It's very common for people to be surprised by the experiences that people like you all and myself even have had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know every term. I get surprised by some new terms, and you know, I don't care what generation. The Gen Zs have terms that are different. That I'm like, what are you talking about? You know,
Yeah.
because we had being in Gen X, we had terms like my brother and I would, when we were young, we would go, man, that's so bad, and my parents were like, no, that's good, and we're like, no, it's bad, because we were, you know, I don't know if you were rebelling or having your own language. Yeah, it's fascinating to see how different people do different things, and in
Yeah,
essence, I think
like
we're
I
all
know
alike.
that I know that I'm starting to age when I don't understand the terms on social media anymore. Like,
Mhm.
it sounds like another language.
Yeah, Nicole. So you're finally seeing what we see. When I met Nicole, how old were you? Oh, wait, she was 29, right?
28, I think, yeah.
28, and oh, her 30th birthday, y'all, was a interesting one. You get to watch the younger people go through those. I'm not 20 anymore. I'm being an adult, and you got to help them out. Guidance, I guess. That's where the application is designed to help people not go into the pitfalls that I went through. Because I think everybody's run a credit card up to the max and has went, oh my God, I don't know how to pay that off.
So I know we're like at like 30 something minutes. Jessica, do you want to talk about, you had sent an article, you know, let's keep it on
Yeah,
top.
so,
Finances. What did you want to talk about with that?
well, you know, we have different stocks and bonds. The Fed is projected to cut rates in 2024. So we do talk about finance. And you know, percentage points. Everybody wants to know what are you talking about when they say on TV percentage points? That's or points, and that's basically percents that are going down. And I'm looking at, you know, they're talking about 0.75% or 75 basis points. It's the same thing, guys. When you're in algebra class, it's very in math class. Those percentages and fractions, they will end up helping you out in the long term, because you've got to know things that convert over into finance, because you will need those keys.
So what is going on then next year? You said.
Well, they said that the
That-
market rose 2.5%.
So that sounds
And
good,
the
right?
government, the bonds rallied further after the Fed laid out the groundwork for their interest rate cuts in 2024. So they're projecting to have some interest rate cuts, which, you know, if everybody knows, now I studied economics in high school or college. That was my minor. And it will affect the economy, especially for people who have variable rate mortgages. I've got a HELOC on my house, because that's what's I used to fund. I pulled the equity out of my house in order to build the company. And not everybody even knows what equity is. That's the, you know, the part that you paid off your house. If it was a $200,000 house and it was half paid off and there was $100,000 left, the $100,000 that has been paid off is considered your equity. And there is a potential that you can take that equity out and spend it on starting a company, which is what I did. And it has gotten us very far. And I've spent quite a bit of money along with the money that we raised in order to build the Fisk mobile tipping platform. That is the first phase of the application, but things look up, supposedly, according to the articles that I get. We could dive deeper, but I don't want to sound like a news station. We don't have a ticker on the bottom.
Well, that's, you know, it'd be great to kind of demystify some things. And, you know, April, before the show, you had said that you didn't understand much. Like, I don't know if anybody really does, even the people writing the article, but like, you know, in like one sentence, it looks like it's getting better. That's what it sounds like. Is that right? Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't know, you know, what else we can talk about other than it looks like it's getting better.
Yeah, thumbs up. I like that. We got the drag queen on the show. April has given us a thumbs up for the economy, for 2 thumbs up for next year.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. But anyway, guys, we are
double your tips to your local drag performers, right?
Yeah.
I think you all should.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Guys, we're going to have to wrap the show up. And Crystal, we thank you for coming on the show and giving us your time and wisdom about what you do. And we hope we explained Fisk mobile tipping to you. Guys, this is Jessica Dawson.
Nicole.
And I'm April Fresh.
And this is the Financial Drag Show. Y'all have a wonderful weekend and happy holidays. We do not know, this should air in 2 weeks, might be right around the new year, but happy new year as well. We don't see you.